Hello, welcome to day number 1 of our Easter devotional series. And throughout this week, we're just going to be taking some time on a regular basis just to look at God's Word and to kind of help prepare our hearts to celebrate Easter Sunday. And so today I want to share with you out of 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And it says this in verse 1, "Moreover, brethren, I declare to you the gospel, which I preached to you, which also you received, in which you also stand, by which you are saved." I preached to you the gospel, you received the gospel, you stand in the gospel, and by the gospel you are saved. The Apostle Paul is encouraging the church in Corinth as to the importance of the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ, the greatest news that has ever been told, or we could say it this way, the greatest information that has ever been given. The fact is that we live in the information age. There is an abundance of information. Everywhere we go, we carry one of these with us, information on the go. But the fact is, in this age of information, not all information is equal. Some information is more important than other information. In fact, in your natural life, in your natural body, your body is greatly determined by a very important piece of information. It's called your DNA. In fact, at the moment that you were conceived, I won't give a biology lesson, but it was a transfer of information that really created your identity, or at least your physical identity. And so your life began through a transfer of DNA, but not just began, but also continues. In fact, so much of who you are is determined by that little piece of DNA contained in your cells. Your hair color or lack thereof, your eye color, your body type, so much of your life is determined by that vital piece of information. And the same is true not just in your natural life, but in your spiritual life, that your life is determined by a very important piece of information called the gospel, the good news of what Jesus did in his life, his death, in his resurrection. And the Apostle Paul here is encouraging the church in Corinth to stand fast in the gospel, to continue to hold on to the gospel. And just like in our natural lives, our DNA is not just important at the beginning of our lives, it's important throughout our lives. The same is true in our spiritual lives. Sometimes people think the gospel is just for new Christians or for new believers for the moment that they respond to Christ. But the fact is that it's actually for all of our spiritual life. All of our spiritual life is determined by our continuing in the gospel. That it affects everything. It affects our relationships. It affects our mood. It affects the way we work. It affects everything in our lives is dependent upon our continuation in the gospel. And so I want to encourage you today, this week, just to take time to meditate on the gospel, to think about the reality of what Jesus did in his life and his sacrificial death upon the cross and through his victorious resurrection over death, hell, sin, sickness. He defeated it all, and he did it for you and I. And so today I hope that you'll just spend some time meditating on the gospel, refreshing your own heart, preaching the gospel once again to yourself, and so that news once again becomes good news to you. So thank you so much for watching this video wherever you're at today. I hope you have an awesome day. And also, if you don't have a church to go to, if you're not a part of our church family, or maybe catching this online somehow, I'd love to invite you to join us this Sunday at the Orlando Museum of Art. We're going to have a wonderful time celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Some great things for the kids and for the families, and an Easter festival right after the service in the park outside of the museum. So we'd love for you to come and join us. And in the meantime, I hope that you will have an awesome week. I look forward to talking to you soon.